this is my review of that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Okay, so this episode is kind of a cliffhanger for the second half of the season. So, yeah, if you guys don't know, that time I got reincarnated as a slime is one of those anime where the season is split up into two parts. And the first part ends with this episode, and it kind of ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, but it also sets up something to look forward to for the second part, which is going to be coming around summer-ish. So, and then there's also Slime Diaries, which I am going to review, and it's clear that Slime Diaries was meant to tie us over until the actual anime main anime picks up again. So, yeah, I'm going to be starting with that next week, but for the time being, this episode is just going to leave you on a cliffhanger, and you're just going to have to deal with that. So, yeah, it starts off with a flashback back to the meeting that Rimuru had with all of his followers and friends. And shortly after the meeting breaks, Benimaru decides that in order to test Rimuru's ability to maintain his reason after becoming a demon lord, he decides that he's going to create a password for him so that they can actually make sure that he still has his reason. And the password that Benimaru comes up with is Shion's cooking tastes like shit. So yeah, the Rimuru is adamantly very concerned about this password because he knows that if he's successful, he'll wake up Shion, who is likely going to get mad at him if he says that. But Benimaru declares that it's ultimately a necessary evil, and pointing out that it needs to be that it is a way to actually test Rimuru's reason when he finally awakens from becoming a demon lord. And sure enough, it then cuts back to real time where Rimuru has successfully become a demon lord, and Shion has woken up and is now coddling him and is expressing happiness at the fact that he's now awake. And Rimuru declares the same thing, pointing out that she shouldn't worry him like that again, and she declares that she won't ever again. At which point now all of Rimuru's followers gather around him, having noticed that he has finally woken up, and they all declare that they all were resurrected with their souls intact, and then swear eternal fealty to Rimuru because he was the one who made that happen. And Rimuru is just happy that he didn't lose anybody and that everybody is successfully alive, but also points out that everybody else seems to be a bit different. They look slightly different. And in truth, Great Sage, which has since evolved into the ultimate skill Raphael, declares that everybody who was a affiliate of Rimuru during the Horrors Festival gained an evolution and became more powerful. So Rimuru is a little bit proud of that because he realizes that now it means that all of his friends are a little bit stronger as well, and that it wasn't just a one-off thing for him and him alone. But also notices that Raphael seems to be a lot more fluent in how it speaks, and Raphael tries to brush this off as the fact that it's just Rimuru's imagination, though he knows full well that that's not actually what's happening, but he decides to let it go, and it just becomes a recurring joke throughout the episode every time he talks to Raphael. So, yeah, that's just the thing. At which point, Benimaru decides at that exact moment to make Rimuru use his password, and I think you can see where the joke is set up. As it turns out, Benimaru was just kind of trying to set up Rimuru by pointing out that Rimuru would have to say something embarrassing in front of Shion because that would have wound up being an inevitability. So he was just kind of waiting for this moment to screw Rimuru over and make him eat some of Shion's cooking. And Rimuru obviously tries to find a way out of it. He tries to find a way out of hurting Shion's feelings while also not screwing himself over by having to eat some of her cooking. And he asks Raphael for help, and Raphael eventually comes up with an alternative answer that Rimuru can give. And basically, well, long story short, is that Rimuru throws Benimaru under the bus. So yeah, Rimuru knows that he can't actually follow up with the password tastes like shit because he knows that Shion is currently holding him and that she's going to become very, very upset. So what he does instead is point out that it was entirely Benimaru's idea that the password exists in the first place, and just kind of points out that Benimaru is the one who came up with the whole Shion's cooking tastes like shit password, which naturally causes Shion's anger to be focused on Benimaru, and she declares that she's now going to serve Rimuru directly, and is now going to make Benimaru eat all of her cooking, which Benimaru points out is probably going to kill him, even though he developed poison resistance from several years of taste testing at this point. At which point Benimaru decides to fill in Rimuru about what happened over the past 3 days while he was unconscious, which Rimuru is a little bit surprised about because he didn't realize he was unconscious for 3 days. But as it turns out, we've already established this, but as it turns out, in the 3 days since Rimuru was unconscious, the war between Milim and Carrion kind of took place, and everybody has since shown up at Tempest's door, led by Albus and Sufia. So yeah, at which point Albus and Sufia they fill Rimuru in on what exactly went on while he was unconscious, and point out that 10 days prior, Milim declared that she was going to come back in a week and fight Carrion. And Carrion naturally asks his followers if she's stronger than him, and they all kind of beat around the bush, but he realizes that she probably is. And decides he's going to go fight her with full strength, and then decides that it's going to be him and him alone, and that everybody else's priority should be to get out of the city and as far away from the city as possible, because 2 Demon Lords are about to fight and it could get messy. So they do that, and then 3 days prior, around the time Rimuru went into his coma, we'll call it, Milim and Carrion begin to go and fight, and in the process both awaken their true forms, which are more battle-ready versions of their regular forms, and also tied to a unique and ultimate skill. Milim kind of looks more demonic in her form, and I'm not really a fan, but and Carrion just looks really awesome. He looks like a giant mix of a bunch of different monsters that you would see, like basically fitting of the Beast King to look like a beast. But during the fight, Carrion discovers that something is definitely off with Milim, and notices that she seems to be controlled in some sort, and considering we've currently seen her affiliation with Clayman, we know that something, and what he's already capable to do because of one of his original skills, we already know that something is probably off with Milim, because the fact that Carrion is able to pick up that she's being controlled, combined with the fact that we know that Clayman can control people, it definitely sets up the dominoes and just kind of like points out, hey, this is a plot thread. See this whole continuity? This is a plot thread that we're doing. But yeah, basically, long story short is that Milim is noticeably being controlled by Clayman. And also during the fight, Milim goes all out and basically wipes Urzarania off the face of the earth. So, or wherever the hell they are, but point is that Urzarania has been wiped off the face of a planet by a single attack by Milim, and to make matters worse, another Demon Lord, Freya, she sneaks up behind Carrion while he's reeling from the loss of his kingdom and slits his throat. So, and that's the last we see of him. We don't actually see what happened to him, but it's implied that he started bleeding from his neck, which is, yeah, he may or may not be dead. We don't know. But in any case, after hearing all of that, we then do get a confirmation that after the battle, Freya flew off to a domain that was neither hers nor Milim's. She flew off to Clayman's domain, at which point Rimuru begins to conclude what exactly is going on. According to Rimuru, at least what he can surmise from the situation, he believes that Freya and Milim are being controlled by Clayman, and that sure enough, the fact that they were exhibiting very strange behavior during the fight with Carrion definitely seems to indicate that. It definitely seems to indicate that Carrion is kind of being mind controlled, that Carrion was attacked, and also concludes that Carrion is likely alive, considering that Clayman doesn't seem like the kind of person to try and go out and try and kill somebody just because he can, and he normally has more involved steps and plans than that. So he concludes that it's likely that Carrion is locally alive, and that Clayman is keeping him hostage until the later date. So yeah, with that, Rimuru realizes that he now needs to do something, and also realizing that he needs to basically set up a whole bunch of camps for all of the different refugees from Usurania so that they can actually come and live alongside him. He orders the construction of those and then goes off to think and mull things over. And as he's doing that with Ranga in tow, Black actually shows up and declares his desire to actually join Rimuru, but also points out how he's happy to see that Rimuru is finally awake. And Rimuru is understandably a little bit confused because he was half asleep at the time that he summoned Black, so he doesn't really know who this guy is, which very understandably hurts Black's feelings because the primordial demon just looks at him like, I am your humble servant, and Rimuru's just like, who the hell are you? So yeah, after some explanation from Ranga and Raphael, Rimuru realizes that this guy is indeed the demon that he summoned, and also points out that he seems to be a hired demon. And then when he goes to dismiss him, that's when Black decides to move in and make his move, deciding that he's going to serve Rimuru till the ends of his days, and possibly even after that, and that he should so long as he's a loyal servant, then no harm will actually come to Rimuru. And Rimuru is more than happy to actually keep him as a member, but upon realizing that Black doesn't really have an official name and is just kind of referred to as the Primordial Black, he actually decides to name Black and name him Diablo because it's a demon-sounding name, and that basically, long story short, just translates as demon, and Rimuru isn't very original with names, as we've established. And it notably sucks up half of Rimuru's magic rules, and he believes that he's probably not a very powerful demon, but until he realizes that because of Great Sage, that his magic rules have actually increased to 10 times the original amount. So yeah, that's not really a fair comparison. But in any case, after evolving, Diablo then notices that something is clearly bothering Rimuru, and asks him what exactly is going on and why he seems out of it. And Rimuru basically just lays out everything on the table and explains exactly what's going wrong. Not only does he have to deal with the Kingdom of Falmuth and try and find a way to usurp their leadership, but in addition to that, he's also got the Western Holy Church, which has declared him an enemy, and then there's more recently, the Demon Lord Clayman thing, where Clayman seems to be controlling several Demon Lords that are now serving under him, even though they're not actually serving under him. So Rimuru has to deal with all of that, but fortunately, Raphael offers a solution to one of those. As it turns out, the barrier that has been sealing Veldora, and you remember from the very first episode, apparently in that time, Raphael has since fully analyzed the barrier and has been able to actually break it down so that they can actually set Veldora free. And with that, all the Western continents and the Western Holy Church in particular will most likely fall in line once they realize that a great dragon is now guarding Tempest. So with that, Rimuru realizes that he now has a solution, and then excuses himself to go do that and go let Veldora out. At which point he goes back to the cave where he and Veldora first met, pointing out that it brings back some memories, and then shifts to his human form, but remarks that his human form seems a bit taller. He feels like his human form is definitely matured a little bit, and then summons a body double for Veldora to summon, although he mostly remarks that it's a way for him to just kind of check out all the different physical attributes that he's noticed in himself, and does conclude that he's actually matured a little bit and even looks a bit more beautiful, although he stops ogling himself after a minute and decides to actually carry through with actually setting Veldora free. And he does. He dissolves the barrier, creates a soul link between himself and the dummy that he just created, and Veldora then inhabits it. At which point Veldora gains a human form and declares his satisfaction at finally being freed. So yeah, that's where the episode ends. It just kind of ends with all of these balls being juggled in the air as well, and then Veldora is just kind of freed from his prison after after 1.5 seasons of waiting. We've been waiting on this for a long time. It's finally happening. So yeah, Veldora's finally been freed, and also now there's 3 plot threads that are going to go into the second season, namely that Rimuru has to deal with the Western Holy Church, which is currently being led by a former disciple of Shizu. He has to find out how to deal with the Kingdom of Falmuth and what to actually do with its leadership, since they did kind of cause a bit of trouble for them. And on top of that, he now has to find a way to save his bestie from Demon Lord Clayman and try and free her heart and from his control. So, yeah, Rimuru's got a lot on his plate for this first half of the season, and the second half of the season is most likely going to deal with most, if not all of those. I'm not entirely sure because, again, I don't really read the manga. I mostly just watch the anime and review it for you guys, which works. But I do want to point out that this is going to be a lot of things to juggle going into the second half of the season. So yeah, we're going to be seeing that, but not right away. It's going to come around, I don't know, like summer, I think. So we're going to have to wait a while to see that. But in the meantime, we've got Slime Diaries to review, and I'm going to be starting on that next week. So hopefully you guys will be looking forward to that, because Slime Diaries is apparently like a bunch of spin-off short stories that weren't in the main anime, but are canon to the main anime. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reviewing that. But for right now, that's going to be my review of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, and possibly the final review, at least for right now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks, and I'm always saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. Also, if you want to see more videos from me, then be sure to check out the videos linked in the end screen. The top video is the most recent video. It may or may not be this one. Whereas the bottom video is the video recommended to you based on what you've already seen from YouTube and from me. So if you want to see something new or want to see more of what you like, then be sure to check out the videos linked in the end screen. But regardless of whether or not you do any or all of those things, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!